telling you, they see this shit on TV. They see the 40s, they see ESPN, all that stuff, but it's the after hours. It's the staying up till 3 in the morning, all that. But here, let's just get into it. Welcome back for another episode, 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane. As you can see, me and Bill have been enjoying the coffee kind of heavy today. I'm already out,
And we're excited because, as they can probably tell, it's not morning, but we're pounding the coffees. I'm sticking with my cold pressed sugar-free turtle with a little half and half. It's that caffeine, but without the sugar. I love it.
Absolutely, and I'm still doing my iced breve with sugar-free caramel, sugar-free vanilla, sugar-free chocolate. Again, got that half and half in there also, so I'm good to go.
Keeping it clean. Like it. Clean, that'll be something that'll come up in this episode. Combines. We're talking about the NFL Combine. So after college, I'm not sure how many guys get invited. I want to say around 250 guys throughout the country, mostly seniors. I think juniors possibly got invited if they declared eligible. But I sort of want to explain the Combines for everybody that I had a part in it. You know a lot about it, being my roommate and obviously playing football. But the Combines are actually coming up around the time this episode should be dropping, so it should be interesting for fans. Basically, it's a week in Indianapolis. Combines are held in the Colts facility, which was cool. We played in Indiana, never played in the Colts facility. I don't think I ever even played there in the NFL. So it was cool to experience that field. But the Combines are there for a week. They bring in different position groups, different days of the week. But you're there for 3 days. And the kicker is, what people see on TV is the 40s, the bench, the quarterback's throwing. What they don't see is the interviews, the tests you have to take, the physicals, the how late things go. And literally, what I told my friends and family was, if I got 2 hours of sleep each night, that was probably great. You have a roommate in your room who you don't know. I went out there with Dave and Casey. I thought maybe I'd get one of them. I got, it was one of the two guards. The first guard taken in my draft was Hutchinson from Michigan, who was the first guard taken overall. And then Mike Gandy from Notre Dame. He was number 2. I roomed with Gandy, which was funny. We'll probably tell it down the road. When I was in Carolina, Mike and I both went on a tryout together. And basically, I got the job at Carolina because he failed his physical. So we both worked out at the same exact time. Basically had similar workouts, both quality guards. But he didn't pass his physical. They kept us both there. We were hanging out we had separate hotel rooms at the Carolina workout, but because they wouldn't let us go home, they would not give us a plane ticket to go home. They said, no, we're going to keep you here until we make a decision. And we basically just said, I got to knock my door. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, come on in. One of us is getting the job. Let's just hang out together and shoot the shit, sort of. But start off, as everybody sees, you get issue gear. We all know what issue gear is, but at the NFL Combines, you get NFL Combine issue gear. The thing that drove me nuts, and I understand, I was number 60. There might be 4 other number 60s. But I don't know what my number was, but there's some guards wearing, or some offensive linemen wearing number 3. Some offensive linemen are wearing number 171. Just these random numbers. So that's weird. You're there for 3 days. This is the stuff they don't show you on TV, is the interviews. I interviewed with GMs of teams, which is mind-blowing. GMs, head coaches, even the interview process, the way they track you down and try and pin you to a schedule. My agent actually prepped me for it. He flew me in. My agent was out of Baltimore. He flew me into Baltimore and basically had his whole staff come up to me and berate me, trying to have me schedule something with this person, that person. And you have to sort of have a good character about yourself and confidence to be please wait, let me finish this scheduling, move on to the next. Otherwise, those teams they'll grab you and literally drag you into the hotel room that they're in to start the meeting to avoid going to a meeting with somebody else. So that was complicated. And then the other thing, we had Coach Huber, Jim Huber, who we talk about a lot, who anybody that got coached by Hughes knows when he draws the play up, after about the first 30 seconds, it looks like a 5-year-old coloring in the coloring book. There's a ton of lines. A lot of these teams would ask us, what's your favorite play? Whether you say zone or power or counter, then they say, draw it on a blank, draw your export. There were guys out there at the NFL Combines that couldn't even draw a defense, which I was just now granted, our freshman, sophomore year, we probably would have struggled with that as well. We needed it on paper, we needed to see it on film, But by my senior year, I understood the defense just like you did by senior year of college. So that was sort of eye-opening. And then the other thing that blew my mind was piss test. How many guys pissed hot at the combines?
Really?
It wasn't one or two. And I'm just thinking, combines are end of February, beginning of March. Your regular season ends, the end of November?
Right.
You basically get that invite probably by December. So you know you're going to the combines,
right,
and you still piss hot at the combines. How do you do it? It just blew my mind. But here's another thing that people don't know, the physicals. And this is something, yes, there's the famous picture of Tom Brady up on the stage. The way Casey and Dave and I described it, and I think other people describe it as well, it's like herding cattle. And you're up there, we call it ruds. For you people, you civilians, ruds are basically like boxer briefs. They're gray, just plain boxer briefs, nothing special about them. But you're wearing those and socks, and you walk up onto a stage, like a wedding stage that you have at a reception. You know, like a little platform.
Yeah.
They put you up 10 at a time. You'd face forward, almost like a police lineup. You'd face this way. They'd say face front. When you face front, you have 32 head coaches, 32 GMs, and then 32 teams have multiple scouts from each team that are taking notes. And all I remember was, am I too short? Are they staring at my love handles? Are my arms not big enough? You're thinking all this stuff because you're like a model that didn't want to be a model.
And you have no shirt on, right?
No shirt.
But in all reality, you were sporting that sweater vest.
I did have the hair. We're going to get into some issues happened with my hair at the combines, but I did have hair. I had hair when we went on stage. I'll say that on my chest. There's something else that happened. But with the physicals, there's 32 teams at the combines. Now, common intelligent people would think one team would do a physical with Bill and then share that physical with the other 31 teams. Well, the NFL, nobody trusts anybody because everyone's trying to get a leg up. Everyone's trying to, especially not so much with me, and I'm not trying to assume it's with me, but with other guys, they do try and hurt people's draft status because they want to be able to get somebody for a lower dollar amount. So if they can find something wrong with them, especially if they want them, they must want to find something wrong so other teams don't want to take them. That guy could drop down lower and they're able to get them. But when you go team to team, yes, they're doing the typical stuff that we've all done since high school. Checking your knees, checking your ankles, checking your hips, your shoulders, the main body parts that we've all been through. But they measure your hand from your pinky to your thumb, how long your fingers are. They measure how long your femur is, how long your tibia is. They're measuring everything with the tape measure. Don't ask me that question. They didn't measure that. I know what you're thinking, Joe. We're best friends. I know it. But no, they did not measure that. But 32 teams are doing physicals. It was just absolutely crazy. And that's what's taking all this time. Your day is full. Like I said, you're waking up at 6 a.m. You're either taking a piss test or you're starting another physical with a different team. And then your interviews are going through the night. So that's what's pushing you late at night. But the other thing that comes up is the Wonderlic test. A lot of people have been hearing that on ESPN. And we've heard about, I can't remember the quarterback's name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. That got a decent quarterback in the NFL. Can't think of who it is. I'm drawing a loss right now. But he got like an 8 on the Wonderlic. But ended up, so it's out of 50. You get 12 minutes to take the test. Right. Question 1 is probably a simple math question. Question 50 is very difficult. I recall, and I'm sure somebody will look it up online and find it and probably prove me wrong, I believe I got a 31, which was a good score for the Wonderlic
out
test.
Of 50.
Out of 50. But that was a good score.
Now, and then again, I'm thinking about your past history of going to class, thinking about like your lack of attention to detail and all that things. So if you're going to tell me, because I didn't do the Wonderlic test, I'm going to take your word for it that 30 out of 50 is a couple.
And I wouldn't lie to my best friend. No, I'm not going to lie to you. But we did prep for it. I did take multiple practice Wonderlic testing. But the couple of funny things I have to say about it, one's not funny, one's serious. If you didn't get invited to the combines, we have pro day at our own school, which you're aware of, you've seen before. I am almost positive Dag Retzloff, our big, tall tight end, I want to say he scored a 48 or a 49 on the Wonderlic. I mean, we knew Dag was a smart dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got that score. The funny thing about it, so everywhere we go to combines, we're going as offensive linemen. Because I was out there, it was O linemen, maybe there was D linemen, and I think kickers were in our group. So not with us, but
Yeah.
those were the 3 position groups that were there for those 3 days. And they take about 20 of us O-linemen into a conference room in the hotel. And the mediator or whatever, the teacher for that test, basically as he's handing it out, goes, fellas, I'm going to say this a couple times, so make sure you hear me. No test is alike. So do not cheat. If you cheat, you're going to get a bad score. So he hands the test out. He goes, I want to be so serious about this. When I say go, I'm going to go out in the hallway and have a coffee with one of my buddies. I'll come back in at 12 minutes to let you know the test is done. So he says go. So I'm, boom, flip the test over, start marking my answers. About a quarter of the way through the test, I was just like, take a seat back, stretch a little, take a deep breath, be like, all right, let's get back into it. But before I do, I glance around the room and I look and I say, everybody's cheating off each other. And I actually knocked on my table. I'm like, guys, they just said don't cheat. You're going to get a lower score if you cheat. And they're just like shrugging their shoulders, being like, what do you got for this? Like literally talking to each other, asking, what do you got for number 8? Like asking and filling in the answers. So I just thought that was crazy. But then you wonder why guys get 6 on the wonder list.
Right.
That's why. You know, you either don't give a shit or you're copying off somebody else.
Right.
We did see our offensive coordinator, Brad Childress.
Come on, yeah.
Come on now, chill now. Chili was our offensive coordinator at Wisconsin for the first Rose Bowl, the 98 season, 99 Rose Bowl. Chili was a little bit of a different cat. We liked him, but, you know, he managed us. He managed Mike Samuel, and, you know, Mike was that hard-nosed quarterback. It wasn't like he really had to coach Mike up that much throwing because Mike was running the option and we were running the ball.
Right.
So it wasn't like he had an air attack team,
right.
But he was the OC or quarterback's coach at Philly at the time with the Eagles. And me, Dave, and Casey, obviously we're coming off, we had won back-to-back Rose Bowls. We helped our running back, Irma Heisman, in Ron Dane. And every NFL team wants to talk to us, whether they're going to draft us or, you know, none of us expected to be a first-round draft pick, but every NFL team at least wants to meet us, just in case.
And knows who you are.
Exactly.
Because of what you guys did.
Absolutely. You know, like, we felt like we walked in there with our shoulders back a little, that we had earned the respect from what we put in during our college days. And the Eagles aren't coming up to us.
Right.
And we thought it was crazy. Like, the Eagles need an O-lineman. Why wouldn't they at least meet with us? Why are these teams that we're like, there's no way they're going to draft any of us? They want to sit down with all 3 of us at different times and meet with us. We actually, the 3 of us go up together to approach Chili and ask, hey, you going to talk to your line coach and hook us up? And just sort of like shrugged his shoulders and walked away. Like, you didn't give a shit.
Are you serious?
We're just like, fuck you, Chili. You don't
Wow.
you don't want to help us out. Like, we're not asking to draft. Like,
Yeah.
don't do a favor for me. Don't draft me just because.
When you at least know my character, you know my work ethic, you know what we've produced in the past.
Absolutely.
It is just not something that's going to fit into the Eagles organization.
Absolutely.
Why would you not?
You know, just like you said, you know how we produce. You know, I never came out of a game in college football. I think Casey missed maybe 2 games in college football. And Dave, if Dave didn't break his ankle, Dave would have been neck and neck with me. Or no, I'm sorry, Dave would have had one missed game. So if Dave didn't break his ankle, I think I finished with 50 starts. Dave would have had 49 and Casey would have had 48. How do you not sit a guy down and have just a meeting? So that was crazy. Now, here's where it gets a little bit funny. Leading up to the draft, and the draft obviously is going to be a different episode. We already have in the works. We're not going to share it, but we got something special for the draft day. But leading up to the draft and the combines, right before the combines, we were all training for the 40, the 2 1/4 test, which is the bench test. How many times can you do 225? Which I don't even think we're going to talk about that because I think I'm not going to throw Casey and Dave under the bus, but all 3 of us. We did okay, but nothing to brag about. There's guys there throwing up 2 1/4, 42 times, 44 times. Yeah. I think at best, the 3 of us were probably all around the low 20s. You know, like very low 20s. Respectable, but nothing to brag, nothing to write home about. But prior to the NFL combines, I tore my quad muscle at Wisconsin training with John Detman, who was training all of us for the combines. I tore my quad, so I couldn't run at the combines. Fast forward to pro day, basically when the teams came in for Pro Day, they all told me you have to run. So I ran, and every 40 I ran, I was trying to give it my all, but I also felt like if I push a little bit harder, that thing might snap.
Basically, you're nursing.
I'm nervous. You're probably running at like 85%, 90%, but trying to get the best time I could, and I was producing shitty times I don't even want to bring up.
Right.
So fast forward to the draft, and everybody knows I ended up getting drafted by Green Bay, but at the time, I only knew Green Bay had a lot of interest in me. Ron Wolf, it was his last year GM as the GM, so I was the last pick in his, or the last draft class in his GM tenure. The day before I was going to go to Scranton, Pennsylvania to watch the draft with my family, Green Bay calls me up and they go, hey, we're sending a scout down to Madison. We want you to run the 40 one more time. And I'm not going to mention the scout's name. He doesn't work for the Packers anymore. But this story, I never told it when I was playing, and I've never told it on the air until today. I've told it in small groups. He comes down. Now, granted, my quad's still not 100%. It's a lot better than Pro Day, but it's still not 100%.
Right.
And I guess my difference is I feel like, and I might be blowing a little bit of my own smoke, but if I never tore my quad, I really felt like I would have been right around the 5 flat type of 40. Maybe a split second under, maybe a split second over, but right around 5 flat. I'm not going to say how bad my times were at Pro Day, but they were nowhere near 5 flat. So this scout comes down. We walk into McLean Center, the indoor facility. It's me, the Green Bay Packers scout, and John Deckman.
Right.
Or I think it was either Det. You know what? It might not have been Det. It might have been Brian Bott.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but now that I'm saying it, it might have been
Shout
B-Bot.
out to Brian Bott.
B-Bot. I see B-Bot on Facebook.
Oh, sports
he's
advantage.
I believe that's what it is. He's even got a couple former batters that made it to the pros that have gone with him, opening up multiple facilities, doing a lot of training down in the Madison area, doing a really good job. And he went from starting his own business to really blowing things up, making a real name for himself. But now that I think about it, I think it was P-Bot. And the three of us are in the McLean facility. The scout lines me up, like I stretch, I warm up, do all that stuff. And he's like, all right, when you're ready. I run a 40, hits the timer. He looks at me, he's like, it's not good enough. I'm like, all right, I'll do another. Line up, and I'm like, I gotta push it harder. He waits till I go, starts the timer, finish, click, looks at the watch, he's like, tell me it's not good enough. I run another one. He's like, looks at B-Bot, and I'm saying B-Bot because I think it was B-Bot now that I'm thinking about it. He's like, do you have a tape measure? And you know those tape measures you have to handle, it's the big wheel. He goes and gets one of those, brings it up. The scout has me hold it at the goal line, and he pulls it out. And all of a sudden he goes, like a light bulb went off. I know what's wrong. And I'm thinking, what's wrong? Like, my quad is hurting, and I can't run as fast as I used to run.
Right.
And he goes, somebody lined this field wrong. And I go, what? And we've been on that field forever. And after I heard that, I look at B-Bot, and B-Bot just like gave me like a head shake. And I'm like, I get it. Don't say anything.
Right.
And the scout goes on to talk, and he goes, your field at 40 yards is beyond 40. He goes, you're running longer than 40 yards. So he gets a piece of athletic tape, puts it down at the 36-yard line. And he's like, run another one. I line up at the goal line. I go, boom, stopwatch. As I cross 36 yards, he goes, I can take that back to Green Bay. And he walks out.
Nice.
So I ran a 36-yard 40,
Nice.
and the Green Bay Packers drafted me. I was like, couldn't believe it. I mean, never expected that, and I joked with him when I was in Green Bay, like just me and him. Never said it beyond me and him during the playing days, but I was amazed. The one thing I forgot to say about the combines, what's the one thing you always bust my balls about? Height.
Well, yeah.
Well, I know it's a lot of things, but
It's a lot of things.
but height
Is definitely
height was always a big topic for me.
Absolutely.
So I knew that going into the combines.
Yep.
I actually, at 217 South Mills, I got a cardboard box and started cutting a bunch of cardboard circles out.
Did you find that cardboard box on the porch?
It was probably out by the raccoons. I probably had to kick a raccoon.
The family of raccoons.
Probably had to kick a raccoon out of it and then bring it back in it because that's where we kept our recyclables.
Absolutely.
Recyclables and garbage. But they were separated. So I grabbed out of the cardboard pile. But cut a bunch of circles, threw it in my luggage with a roll of duct tape.
Okay.
So the morning that I knew we were going to get measured, I duct taped 4 circles under each heel and put my socks on. Because I asked the guys that were seniors the previous year, do they make you take your socks off when you get measured? They said no. you take your shoes off, but socks do not come off.
Really?
So I duct taped 4 pieces of cardboard under each heel just to get a little bit more height.
I almost wondered on that one. You must have waited to the last minute to put those circles on your heels because, however, if you would have worn them throughout the day, you would have compressed those circles down the next day. You needed every freaking inch you could possibly get.
I needed everything, but even that little bit was going to help. So when people, even today, it sometimes slips out when somebody's like, "How tall are you?" Instead of saying 6'2", I go with my combine height, 6'2" and 2/10.
I don't even think
6'2" and 2/10.
no.
Now, granted, I'm getting old. My dad shrunk. I'm probably starting to shrink. But there's times
if you're 6'1" right now, maybe
don't. There's times I think maybe we're almost eye to eye.
I understand. Gravity's taken over. We haven't lost a tremendous amount of weight. If anything, we put on more weight. So gravity's pulling us down further. So I completely understand that. Okay, so let's just say 6'1" across the board.
There are times when we're setting up and packing up and we cross paths. I feel like I'm just almost eye to eye with you.
That's probably because I'm kneeling down putting stuff away. That's probably the reason.
You don't have to go there.
I'm sorry, it hurts.
It hurts my heart
I'm
sometimes.
sorry, I'm hurtful.
I think a best friend would be like, "No, I think you've actually grown since college."
I think your ears look nice. What's that?
That's nice.
There's a compliment.
I appreciate it. Well, to say one more thing before we are going to hit the combine recheck, which is rare, and I'll explain why. But when you said about my sweater vest, yes, I'm Italian. I am hairy. I do wear, it's basically like a wife beater of black chest hair.
Yeah. No, I prefer the sweater vest. It's better.
It is a sweater vest, but it's more like I got the straps too that go like up the shoulder. So it's like a black wife beater or something. But when you mentioned that, it made me remember with those 32 NFL teams, I was probably on my 26th or 27th team out of 32. No one's got a problem with it. Everyone is happy with my knees, happy with my shoulders, happy ankles, measurements are okay, all this and that. 26, 27 teams, somebody puts a stethoscope on my chest. And they go, "Has anybody ever told you you might have a heart murmur?" I go, "Fuck no. I don't have a heart murmur." No. 25 or 26 teams just said I was clean. I was good. Everything was perfect. No, like, don't do this. We're almost done. Don't do this trying to screw me, just because for whatever reason. So from that doctor making that comment and making that note, I have to now go to medical to confirm whether I have a heart murmur or not. So we go to medical and they basically tell me, "You got to get on the treadmill. We need you to walk, do a fast walk, to a run." And I go, "Listen, I tore a quad. I shouldn't even be doing a fast walk. Like, I'm not running here at the combine."
Right.
They're like, "We have to do it. We have to see if you have a heart murmur." So I go, "Okay." She's like, "You got to take your shirt off. We got to put the sticky pads on to monitor your heart." So, you know me, just standing up and walking around in an air-conditioned room, I'm already sweating.
Right.
So I get on the treadmill, I got my shirt off, she's trying to stick stuff, well, I got the sweater vest on. Stuff ain't sticking too well. And as soon as the first pad didn't stick, and I go, "Look here," and it was a female nurse. As soon as the first pad didn't stick, I was about to say something, she's already got wireless battery-operated clippers on, and she goes zip, and zips a strip from the middle of my chest right up, and then does the other side. So now I got a V.
And it completely messes
Now
with the sweater vest.
But now it's like a V-neck. So now I got a V in my chest.
Yeah.
She puts the pads on, and I start doing this walk to a incline to a jog. Nonsense. It all got done. Bottom line was no heart murmur.
It's that time of the show again, where we like to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. Cabin Coffee Altoona is located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane, located just off Highway 53, the River Prairie exit. Stop by and try my favorite drink, the Ice Breve, with sugar-free caramel, sugar-free chocolate, and sugar-free vanilla. It's great tasting and fits into all your parameters for your keto diet. Just remember, folks, everything's better at the cabin.
I'm like, I had to go through all that BS for nothing, but that's part of it. Funny enough, it brought up another idea when I said physical and female nurse. We forgot to tell a story about seminary.
Yes. So seminary, when we were there, this would have been our first night that we were there, I think. Isn't that how it worked?
First day, first evening. Yeah.
So
after the meetings,
what they would do is we would just break up into small groups, and they had various rooms that had various different physical.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
I went to the dentist.
Yep.
I mean, they did my blood pressure. They did everything. And weight, height, flexibility. I mean, every room had something different.
Different stations
Yeah.
and different rooms.
And it was monitored by trainers who were in training, maybe?
So we had a head trainer in Denny. We had an assistant trainer in Bar. So those two were our higher up trainers. But then the way I think you and I would classify it is almost like how managers are in school, but they help manage the team and the assistant coaches. They were like trainers in training. So people that wanted to be trainers that were still undergrads. Let's go with that.
Yeah. So we're going through the thing, and I mean, you feel. I understand how you felt at the NFL Combine. It felt a lot
Yes,
like that. Like
absolutely.
you were just cattle, and you were herded into a room, and then you were poked and prodded. They also did an allergy test. I mean, like up and down your arm to
Yes.
see what you were allergic to.
Yes.
I just thought of that now, and how you reacted. So it was pretty extensive.
Yeah.
How they did that.
I'd even say very invasive. Just to use a bigger word.
Okay. I would say invasive. I usually don't like big words. I'll use the.
I can use them every once in a while. You can drop a big word every now and again. And I'm like, why you do that? Like, why you trying to act smarter for it?
I don't even remember doing that. And if I do, I apologize. That's right.
By concussion.
Yeah. Anyway, the last one that I remember is you do the traditional drop your pants, and
We all know that's coming. That's the thing. We all know it's coming. It's going to happen.
I pulled down my pants, and there was a female, and she was going to do the cup and check and turn her head and cough, and I dropped my pants, and she utters, "Nice guys." And I don't know if she was referring to my underwear that I was wearing that day, or what the comment "nice guys" comes from. I to this day, I'm still baffled, but it did stroke my ego a little bit, even if it wasn't talking about underwear. Anytime a female says "nice guys," when I'm in that position, I thought it was a positive.
So, that is crazy. That's absolutely crazy. To me, it's like, but I'm not going to go as far because that's like home team for us. There are people. It's like, I don't want to say bad thing, but it's like getting close to the line of unprofessionalism.
Yeah.
But they're young. Like they didn't know, but it's the way it was set up. Like, should those age people been doing that? Should they have been at the flexibility area or the allergy area?
Yeah, maybe the allergy area would
That
be good.
probably would have been better. The funny thing is, I have a very similar story, and I didn't think it was as crazy until I was in Wausau. I'm not going to say who was in front of, but we were at a friend's house in Wausau. Both the husband and wife happened to be doctors. The wife actually went to UW-Madison. She's from the Wausau area, and I tell this story at her house. We were having a dinner party, and I told the story. Everybody they were into like asking me football questions. I'm like, here's a crazy story for you that most people don't know. And so my story is go in the same room, time to drop your pants, turn your head and cough. And I also have one of these trainers in training. So if I'm an incoming freshman, here's another funny thing. I mean, I know our birthdays are a little bit different. I was 17 going through this process. So I wasn't even 18 when I stepped on campus. So I'm a 17-year-old, and it's probably a 19 or 20-year-old girl. And I walk up to her, and she's like, all right, drop your pants. You have to turn your head and cough. So I drop my pants. She's there, holding on. And I cough, still holding on. And I'm just like, a little bit longer than normal. And I'm like, all right, we're getting close to that point. Like, start thinking about grandma, start thinking about baseball. And then, what are those Chinese deals called? Stress ball. And I really got the feeling that she started thinking she had stress balls in her hand, started moving around. I'm like, that's very, very weird. Well, long story short, she had a feeling one of my testicles was larger than the other, and that might be concerning. So while playing with the Chinese stress balls, she calls for the trainer to come in, and I'm like, this is very weird. Like, when are we going to let go? Maybe let go, I'll pull them back up till the trainer comes in, and then she held them the whole time like they were going to run away or something. She's like, I'll just keep a hand on them. So I say this at a dinner party in Wausau, and the doctor that I sat in front of, she's like, oh my God, that is, let alone one, her age, two, that it was a female that wasn't even a trainer or a doctor.
And you're a minor.
And I was 17.
You're a minor.
Once again, we go back to Mrs. and Mr. Ferraro didn't sign off on this. They didn't know that this was going to be happening when they dropped me off in Madison. Just craziness. But I'm glad we brought that back up because that was something that I know after we recorded that episode talking about seminary that we were very disappointed because I'm sure the audience isn't dying to hear about physicals, but it's just something else that people don't know of the craziness that happens behind the scenes. And all of our teammates that are listening to this, they know that exact story happened. We're already seeing it on social media, the stories we're telling. You mentioned the story about getting hurt or hurting yourself purposely if you're going to be late. We got guys blowing us up being, I 100% agree. I was late once. I was on the Stairmaster. Like, this stuff is true.
Yeah.
We're not making it up. We're not just doing this. We're doing a podcast that document true stories.
Absolutely.
This is the truth that
And
happened.
just to think, when you signed up, to play football, you never thought of the behind the scenes. I never in a million years did I think I was going to be ushered into room by room like
Yeah.
cattle, and all of a sudden, oh, he's allergic to this. Oh, he has allergies to this.
Yeah.
Have my teeth, examined. Every aspect of your
Yeah.
life was documented, like
Yes.
you were,
Absolutely.
like it was a dairy farm show. Seriously.
If you asked me in high school, I probably would have said classes are going to be harder, meetings are going to be a little bit more intense, practice will be more intense, and the lifting will be more intense, but not to the extent of, and that's the other thing too, whether it's college or NFL, and we'll get to the NFL side of it and how people are like, what do you do? Just practice 2 hours a day? And it's like, no, I'm showing up at the stadium at 6:30. In the NFL, that's your job, because you don't have to show up at 6:30 in the morning. You might not be I'd be calling my wife being like, hey, have dinner on your own. I probably won't be home until like 9:30.
Right.
If like with me in Green Bay, if there was a day Brett Favre stayed after to watch film, I'm going in that film room. If he's watching it, why am I going home to eat dinner? He's in year 16. I'm a rookie. I'm staying to watch. But in college, it was the same deal, a job, and we had to go to school.
Yeah.
So that's why we're lifting and running at 5:30 in the morning. Then we're going to school. Then we're going back for practice. It's just nonsense the way it's back and forth. But before, I know I got one story about the combine recheck, but before we get there, with you bringing up height, I had the opportunity to play in an all-star game,
right?
And so did Casey. We both went to Hawaii, which was, it was pretty sweet for both of us because the last game our senior year was in Hawaii, and then I think it was like 3 weeks later we got to go back to Hawaii. We were on Honolulu for the last regular season game of our career, and then we went to Maui for the All-Star game. And in Maui, it's more of it was the Hula Bowl. What people more are recognizable is the Senior Bowl. You're out there with scouts watching. So there's one day where practice is intense. Scouts are out there. You're going one-on-ones are live, 9-on-7s live, all that. The rest of the time, it's more like a fast-paced walkthrough.
Okay.
Because you're out there on a vacation, it's a celebration, it's a congratulatory. You're not trying to hurt yet. Where the Senior Bowl is every day of the week they're going hard. The Hula Bowl, it's one day, your balls in the wall in that practice.
Right.
After that practice, the scouts do a little bit of measuring and stuff like that, height, weight. They measure me for height. Joe, I swear to God, I almost got in a fist fight with an NFL scout. I get up there, and it's one of those, they put us up against the wall, they measure us, and I hear my name, he says my name, says my number, says Wisconsin, and I hear 6. Of course it's going to be 6. And I'm waiting for that 2 and what's going to follow the 2. And he goes 6, 1, and I turn around, I'm like, do not write 6-1 on that piece of paper. I'm like, the fuck if I'm 6'1"? Like I've never had 6'1". And all kidding aside, I am not as tall as you, I'm not as tall as any of our Badger teammates, but you're not screwing me over in the draft saying 6'1". 1 inch to me goes from, I was a 4th round draft pick, might be 4th round to free agent. Like that's how big a deal it was to me.
I understand that. Having as many inches as you possibly can. I completely understand.
That is a big thing in life. But almost got in a fight. Thank God for my teammate, Casey Rabach, pulled me off, didn't allow anything to happen, and nothing bad did happen. But that's how serious I was back then about height. And you guys kept the fire going. Like there was always fuel. You, Dave, Casey, always making comments. Hell, I had a freaking Madison reporter. I think it was 1997, talking about how good Ron was, and then he decided to talk about the line. And what did the guy call me? That stuck for 4 years.
I remember. The baby Badger.
The baby Badger. I'm like, I'm trying to carry this persona of like tough guy, hard ass. Never says no, never gives up, never gives an inch. Calls me the baby Badger, and then who remembers that name? Ron Dayton wins the Doak Walker Award. One of the proudest days I am as an old lineman, see my running back win the Doak Walker Award, goes on ESPN and names all of his offensive linemen and does a short little blurb about him. And he goes, and my boy Billy, the baby badger. Calls me the baby badger on ESPN. I go from so proud, such a proud alignment of my running back to demoralized. It just, at that day, I felt like I was 5'11" after he said baby badger.
And I just think that if you would have had the cardboard cutouts taped to your heels when they did the measurement, that maybe you would have been a little better off, but maybe a little better planning. So
I guess we could all use an inch here or there throughout life.
I hear you.
The last thing I gotta say, it's about the combine rechecks. And this is something nobody knows about because it's not on TV. They don't even really talk about it. Combine rechecks is basically anybody that gets invited to the combines that has an injury, they demand come back. I want to say it's about a month later. It's that middle point between the combines and the draft. That halfway point, they bring everybody back basically for one day to recheck them. So me and Dave from Wisconsin were the two guys that had to go back. David broke his ankle our senior year, which we'll get to as we talk about later years at Wisconsin. But he had to go back for them to re-examine his ankle. And the reason I had to go back was because of the quad. They wanted X-ray, MRI, all that stuff. Make sure it was healing. Make sure whoever was going to draft me felt confident that the quad wasn't going to be an issue. While we're down there, we end up meeting a guy. So, and this is what I want to set up for the audience, is during our days, the only way we knew players from other teams were from watching them on ESPN. Right. There was no social media. Right. Unless you went to high school with the guy and he ends up playing for Michigan or Oregon or whatever, and you're keeping in touch over the phone, there's no contact. Right. You're not friends with them. Where today, all of a sudden, all these athletes all across the country become friends and know each other through social media. They connect on X, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And we weren't able to do that. So we're down there. Dave and I meet up with Jesse Palmer, great quarterback in college, and a guy that I remember after our games getting changed, when we used to sit around before going out or going to a party or whatever, we'd watch ESPN just to get our updates on how's the rest of college football, who's doing good, who's winning, who's losing.
What's the landscape?
And I remember seeing him, he was tearing it up in college. Well, I forget what his injury was, but he had to go back. The three of us hit it off. That one day, just hit it off. He fell in love with Dave and I. He was just pumping our heads up so big, just talking about how much he respected our O-line. He saw what he knew we weren't a throwing team, right, but he just knew we were a good O-line for what we did for Ron. I mean, obviously, we're not taking anything away from Ron, but you need a good running back and you need a good line. Those two have to meld. And he respected how good the line was. Well, even on the way back, we all went to the airport at the same time, and Dave and I's flight got delayed by like 2 to 4 hours, and Jesse's flight got delayed as well. Next thing you know, Jesse's like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, oh, we'll probably grab a drink or something like that. Jesse takes us into a bar, throws his credit card down. He's like, nah, I love you guys. You guys are on me. So I just, to this day, and then seeing the success that dude's had. I mean, he's all over TV. He's on this show or that show. Like, he's killing it in life with what he turned his post-football career into. But I just go back to that combine recheck and remember how much fun we had getting to know him that one day. It was just really cool. So,
I think college football in general was a pretty cool fraternity.
It is.
I mean, especially for people. I don't care where you play. If you play college football, especially if you're an offensive lineman, you have that camaraderie right off the bat. I don't care who you play for, especially now as we're getting older. Like, even if you played in the 80s, if you were an offensive lineman, you automatically have respect just because of what you went through.
Well, I think the catchphrase we keep saying, overworked, underappreciated, OWUA. And like, you mean an O-lineman, and I'll even reduce it one more size smaller and say, you meet another O-lineman, or even a player from the Big Ten.
Absolutely.
I remember being on NFL teams, we'd get one of the most famous guys that just comes to my mind. I remember being in Green Bay in this guy comes in the locker room, DB, white guy, which white guy playing DB is rare, comes in the Green Bay locker room, and he said to me, he's like, hey, he was new, I think it was Edgar Bennett was our player development guy. Edgar Bennett, the old Packer running back. He was the player development guy in Green Bay at the time. And he asked me, he knew that day I happened to be driving my vehicle from the lock. It's basically driving it a block and a half to the practice facility, just not have to walk in cleats. Everybody drove to the practice facility, back to the stadium. He goes, hey, would you mind taking Matt in your car? Well, yeah, no problem. You know, new guy, seemed decent, hops in the car. We'd ride down, and if you get there early, just like me and you, we always show up early. Yep. You shoot the shit for a little bit. You get out when it's time to go in. Yep. Just shooting the shit with them. We're like, hey, where you from? What college you from? He goes, Iowa. Boom, right away. It's like, a Big Ten guy. We know we're going to hit it off. We end up becoming great friends, and still good friends to this day. And it's just that Big Ten conference character is so similar. But like you said, O-line takes it to even another level just because you know you're doing the same thing day in and day out.
And what you've been through and how beat up your body is, but just the sacrifice that you put and your commitment to that sport, your craft, and the guys around you. That's literally what it comes down to. And you can learn a lot from people from what they did, what they played, etc. So
100%.
it's awesome.
Well, I'm having fun with this, but I think we're gonna have to wrap this one up and see everybody next time at the next episode.
Next episode, and we want to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. And again, it's still located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. Have a good one, folks. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Joe.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run. Stay tuned for some bonus material.
X question.
I'm listening.
Hardest part about being a business owner and why transition into that life?
Hardest part about being a business owner, you know, it's been interesting, especially I've learned so many valuable lessons from football and law enforcement. I mean, a lot of the same, how hard you work, how hard you drive. The difference is it's more finesse and not blunt force drama. I can talk to Bill and other football players or guys who were in law enforcement or on SWAT with me, different vernacular, different tone, etc. And now I work in a coffee shop with all of my employees are females, and it's customer service. So it was really, really hard to do that 180 turn from being an alpha male in an alpha male business and then also playing an alpha male sport, and then having to be able to kind of curtail that and readjust and reprogram my brain and to make sure that, again, everyone's always looking at me. I have to have the face on, and if I have a bad day, I have to have the exact same face on. And I think that was probably one of the hardest things for me to do. And then just that I still had that determination and having to will things to work, even when you didn't know what you were doing. And even though it was fun, and even though it was hard, but the foundation for football, playing offensive line, and being in law enforcement, and just the values that I learned in that transitioned over to a business. And I think, Billy, you've been around enough and you see how we do things here. It's a lot more finesse, but also rewarding.
It is, but I'm not saying I knew the answer you were going to give verbatim, but I knew what you were going to say. And I take it back to Chris Pick, our roommate that quit football. And I remember when he went to become a lawyer, and I forget what that time frame is to become a lawyer, but he did it like a semester faster than normal.
Yep.
And I remember asking him, because just guys like us, where we grew up, the grades we got, being a lawyer, I was like, I can't make my 7:30 class in the morning.
Yeah.
You decide to quit football and go be a lawyer. Like, that was mind blowing to me. And I remember saying to him, how are you doing this? Like, it really blew my mind. And he looked me dead in the eye. He goes, Bill, you're doing football. He goes, and he said to me, he goes, what I realized was, if I could do football, nothing in his life is going to be as hard as football. And that's the way he looked at it, was, if I could do that and succeed at that,
Right.
I could put my head down and go to work and get it done. And looking at you, like, just all those little things, like the attention to detail, the practice for perfection, the getting there early, like all those little things. Like, the people out there don't see it as football, but it was embedded in you from football. And now you're carrying it over into business, and that's where I think you see that success. And it's those. I think where you see failure in life, I think it's people don't have that foundation that we were blessed with through football.
Right. I agree. You know, and I would have my moments where I would lose my shit completely, and that was always behind closed doors or to my wife. And some of those were rough times, but just the ability to, no matter what, you can't quit when it sucks. You can't quit when you're losing your ass in money, and you can't quit because everybody's depending on you, and there's nobody to call. It's you, so you got to figure it out. And then, put a smile on your face every time and bite your tongue and swallow the blood and keep on moving.
Well, like we said earlier, like I go back to football. You get injured, what do?
Yeah.
You suck it off, keep going.
Absolutely.
You have a concussion, bell rung, whatever.
Yeah.
You're not going to let your teammate down, just like you're not going to let your family down. You're not the last thing you ever do is let your staff down.
Yeah.
You know, you're always the guy that steps in. And to me, like me being your teammate, I look at you got that from football.
Yeah.
You know, like just like you literally had to have a doctor and the head coach say, Joe, your injury is so severe, we are not going to allow you to play. Like that it had to come to that. If they didn't say that, you'd probably have been out there like what was his name, Youngblood or whatever from the 70s that played with a broken leg taped up. Like that would have been Jack Youngblood.
Yep.
That would have been Joe Grabowski. Let me just tape it up and hobble along. Like you're not going to give up. You're going to do that for your team. You're going to do that for your family, for your staff.
I agree. Any more questions?
Bill, X message. Wikipedia has you at 5'11" and a half. What do you have to say?
I don't even want to sue them. I want to find the owner. I want to beat the shit out of them. Like, that is absolutely false. 6'2" and 210. Go back to my high school program. I was 6'3". I had a guy. Talking about lying in high school. I had a guy on my team. Let's just say I'm 6'2".
Okay.
I had a guy on my team whose eyes maybe came to the top of my chest hair.
Top of the sweater vest.
Top of the sweater vest.
Okay.
His height in the program was 6'4".
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say his name. He was a good athlete, but I'm like, come on, dude. I don't even know if you're 5'11". And you're putting 6'4", like, at least I'm adding 1 inch. Like, say you're 5'10" and a half.
I knew that height was a sensitivity for you, though, but
You're pouring that fuel on the fire again.
maybe that still needs you to go up when it comes to height.
Don't pour gasoline on my pilot.
I'm not gonna lie,
It's like,
it makes me happy.
I know it. It makes me, yeah.
It makes me smile and it just gets me on.
There's not many things that make you smile, but that does.
It does.
Poking the barrel down.
Last question on Instagram. Who lost more brain cells or has had more concussions?
That's a tough one because, and I think we touched on this last time. Like, we always thought, like, my first concussion was age probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Got my bike, especially on the yard. Like, that was my first concussion. That was my first severe one where we took me to the hospital. We thought we maybe had a little bit of a brain bleed. And then, very similar, if I said 5 or 6, I thought major. But then you went to some seminar or did some talk and you're talking about all the stupid signs that you've been concussed. And I'm going,
Seeing stars, getting your bell rung, the thing the piercing in your ear, whatever,
ringing in your ear.
ringing in your ear,
Yep.
all those little things, symptom of concussion. I think to take it a step further, not so much who had more or who had worse, it's why do we have concussions? Here's something that we just got done with the combine list. At the combines, and I forgot to say this, I'm glad I thought of it now, just to say it, to put it on record. Every single team that you talk to, they say, who's the toughest guy you played against?
Yep.
And respect back to my team, I looked at every single head coach, every single line coach, and every single GM. I go, our defense. I go, look at the stats on our defense.
Absolutely.
Look at half of our defense is here at the NFL Combines.
Absolutely.
Like Wendell Bryant came out as a junior. Ross Scalagi played how many years in the league? Chris
Dork is a junior.
Tom Burke coming up. Chris Cadorzi and Donnell Thompson playing linebacker. John Favre when you got to pull on the counter. I'm like, these are the guys we're banging heads with every single day. I would take any team in the Big Ten versus our defense, and we had to bang heads with those guys every day. We gave each other concussions in
I'll
practice.
tell you the hardest I've ever been hit. Was that snake in the grass, Jason Doran, your safety.
Yeah.
In practice, he electrocuted my ass. I pulled around the corner, looking at it in time for the backer, and he got underneath me. And I saw the turf, and I'm running, and I'm about to lay into a linebacker, and then I saw the blue sky, and then I saw the turf when I landed, and he's standing over me, grinning ear to ear, and just electrocuted my ass.
I had the honor, I think it was at the day they named Camp Randall Barry Alvarez Field to introduce my son to Jason Doran. And I said to my son when I introduced him, this is Jason Doran, phenomenal safety. Jason wouldn't be able to play football today. My son goes, why? I go, because he used to put people to sleep on the field.
Yes, he did.
Like, he'd hit people, they would be snoring.
Yep.
He didn't just hit them, knock them down. He put people to sleep. Like, and it was normal for him to do that.
He'll walk on. And
Yes. Yes.
Played at Rhinelander in my conference
Yep.
in high school. And knew of him, great guy and soft spoken, just the
Yep.
nicest freaking guy off the field, but would just electrocute your ass on the field. And
100%.
just good night.
Yep.
So That it?
That's it.
All right. Again, thanks for joining, folks. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.